Hello viewers, welcome to our channel. Now as we continue our tour across to the right, we are going to see other sections like the draw section. We can look at the other section as page layout, formulas, data section, review section, view section, help section, and so many others that you may have on your screen. But as I said, some of these settings, some of these sections, we just set them up. Some of these sections, they may appear on your screen, others may not appear, but that's not the problem. The only challenge is that I just want you to know what we are going to be focusing on as far as financial analysis is concerned. In other words, these sections that you are seeing that I've selected, they are as per accounting and finance tutorials that we provide. Those are the ones I think they are going to, that we need as far as finance and accounting are concerned. So I've spoke about the draw section, but if you look at my screen, the draw section is not there. What is there is, what is next there is the page layout. But let's not worry about which one is there, which one is not there. But just know the draw section, however much I mentioned it, it may exit on your screen, but it's not commonly used in financial analysis. So let's focus our attention here to page layout, where we would like to spend some time on some of the features, on some of these features that you are seeing under the page layout. So those are some of the things that we are going to focus on as far as financial analysis is concerned. So here within the page layout, you are going to have the ability to set the margins. We are saying you'll have ability to change, to set the margins, and under orientation here you can actually be able to, you can actually, you actually going to find that the landscape orientation, that is portrait, but the landscape, this second one, the landscape orientation is going to be very common, especially for financial models. So over here we can adjust the size. Over here on this next one, we can adjust the size, and you can actually set or clear the print area. Here we set the size, and on this next one we can actually set print areas, or we can clear print areas as well. So one of the features which is also quite useful is here. So the print titles, these page breaks, background, those ones, they are not all that important as far as financial analysis is concerned. But what is important is this page here. So let's first cancel this, is the print titles. For example, you may have some headings across the topic, across the top. Maybe you have a heading up here. Let me assume you have a heading, let's say Cafe Charles, or we have KC Accountancy Education Center as our heading. In other words, all the information that follows below that heading is from that KC Accounting Education Center. So if you have those headings there and every page has that same heading, what are we going to do in regards to printing titles? Printing titles is that you'll find that some of these, when you're printing the page, you find that that title is going to be coming on every page. The other scenario is that you may find on this first line, you have maybe names, you have scores, you have prices, you have costs, you have, in a sense that you have so many titles for the different line item. So if you want to print out, you may find, because sometimes we are going to do financial models, and you find that we are doing them for the different years. You find this one will have period 1, period 2, period 3, or it may be in terms of years, 2020, 2021, 2022. So you find that the whole information is belonging to only one financial year. So when we are printing out, we want those years to be our headings. And when you are printing, we make sure that those titles are printed on every information that we are seeing below that given line. So that's what we are meaning. Maybe we may be having years, we may be having quarters for a financial model. So you always want to print on every page. You print those periods on every page of your financial model, so that you can actually be able to follow up in the right way and to see the information that is useful for the respective period. So that can be really useful, and that is going to be done under the print screen. So that's the section, and that section is called the page setup. That is the section that is called the page setup. We can take a screen of it. It is starting from this point. That is the page setup, and that's what we've been talking about. If you see some of the sections that we are not talking about them, is that they are not all that important as far as financial analysis is concerned. Some of the theme section, you may find that we may not be able to use we may use some of those features in our models, but that doesn't mean that they are not there. They are there, but we are not commonly using them under financial analysis. So I'm just picking out some of those that are going to be very helpful in our financial analysis. So that's the section that we were looking at. We can delete this. So now let's go to the next section. So over here on this section, we have the ability to adjust the scaling. So you can see that we can adjust the scale of this Excel file. So this section, let's take a screenshot of the scale of the section that we are in. We are in this section of scale to fit section. This is the section that we are in. Scale to fit section of the page layout section of the Rubium. So you will see that, or you are going to notice that it's by default, it is, if we are to adjust the scaling, it is by default at 100%. You're seeing this is 100%. But we have the ability to zoom in or zoom out on the scaling to get our financial analysis to fit on a printed page, because we may find that we are going to have a landscape orientation. you may find that if you take it to 100%, it may not fit on the page that we are printing. So we can try to scale it out here by determining the length and the width and the height of our page that we want to print. So one toggle over here that you are definitely going to want to play with is the grid line. But before we go to this section, you can actually see that if you click this down arrow, you can actually see we change the portrait, we can change it to landscape. Those are the things we've been seeing. But we can actually see the scaling here. We can actually change the paper size because we want to print something that we can actually see. So we can cancel this out. So that's what we can see from that scaling to fit. So let's look at the sheet options. In other words, the sheet option, these are the sheets. The sheet is here. So we now try to look at the options that are there within that sheet. So let's try to look at the section of sheet options. It is starting from this point. That is the sheet option that we are talking about. So that's the section that we are looking at. The sheet option section is what we are looking at. Because now we are seeing some of the things we can keep on changing them. We can toggle over the items that are within this section. One, we can look at the grid lines. We can play with the grid lines. Right now we are seeing, maybe we first delete this. We are seeing that we have grid lines here. And right now we are viewing in grid lines. These are the grid lines. But now we can try to remove those grid lines. And you see that we are getting a plain piece of paper. But now what we are seeing, by default, it is having those grid lines, but we can play around with those grid lines. So because these grid lines, they are helpful for building these financial models. But when it comes to time to print and present, we want to remove or toggle those grid lines off so that those data or the information that we have doesn't clutter up our analysis too much. Because now if you print and there are these grid lines, you may find that our information is going to be a bit congested. So if you remove those grid lines and you print something that is like that, it's going to give us information that is not clustered or it's not congested. So that's one of the things that we can actually look at. Because if you remove the grid lines when you are just building the financial models, it will be hard for you to have things that are going to be in order. Leaving these grid lines on when we are building these financial models, it helps you to make this information be in a straight line or to be organized. But if you're printing, you make sure you remove those grid lines and you print something that is going to come out uncongested. So those are some of the things that we can actually look at under that section. These headings, those ones we can actually print the headings alone, because if you have the headings here, you have the years, you can actually print those headings alone from this point. So that's basically what we are focusing on. In that section, what we're going to be focusing on is going to be with the grid lines. The rest is not all that important as far as financial analysis is concerned. Then the other thing, let's go to the other section, because what is remaining here, the range, the what, is not all that important as far as financial analysis is concerned. So let's try to look at the other section of the ribbon, and that's going to be the formula. The formula section of the ribbon, that's where we are now. Here we are looking at the formula section of the ribbon now. And over here, we have the ability to insert a function within this item here. You can see from here, we can insert a function from the function library section of the formula section of the ribbon. We can see we can insert a function, but as we mentioned, it's going to be faster and easier to insert functions directly in the cells, because if you click here, you'll also be able to insert a formula. But we said the easiest way is to insert those formulas within these different cells. If you want to know some of these, how to insert formulas, we made a video on that. You can go ahead and check our previous videos and look at how we are able to insert a formula. But as we said in the previous video, we said we are not going to insert formulas or functions from that point. We insert from the cells themselves because it's going to be easier. So moving across here, we have a name manager. We can skip the whole of this because the whole of this is something that we are going to look at as far as inserting functions is concerned. And we said we are not going to use any of this. We are going to use the cells themselves. So let's go to the name manager here from the defined names section. So moving across, we have the name manager. If we click on a name manager here, we can see actually there is no names in this particular file because we haven't put in any name yet. But if we were to create names in this particular file, this is exactly where they will be listed, and you will be able to manage them in this dialog box. So this is where we can even add a new, we can edit. This is how we would be managing those names that we created. But since the document is blank, we are not seeing anything here. So we can close this up for now and we try to look at something next. So next up here, we have here the formula editing section. This is the formula editing section. You can take maybe a print screen. That is the section that we are talking about. The formula, that is it. So it is everything that is in here is under the formula auditing. So this section is really very helpful for financial analysis, because one of them we can actually trace precedents. Tracing precedents, because here it's not working because we haven't put in anything. We can trace precedent cells here. We can also trace dependency, and this essentially puts visual arrows, because tracing precedence is checking the different cells that are connecting each other. But for tracing dependency, it traces a specific cell from the different, in other words, we are tracing all the cells that are depending on that specific cell. So that's trace dependence. Because, and how it does, it puts these arrows you are seeing. these different arrows on top of our spreadsheet to show us how things are flowing in and out of a certain cell. In other words, it shows you which kind of cells that are depending on a particular cell. So that's what we shall see under trace dependency. Now there is another area here, error checking. This error checking feature can also be very helpful. Right here, right in here, if you click on that down arrow, you will see that we have the ability to do error checking. We can trace an error through a spreadsheet, and we can also investigate any circular references. You are seeing we can do 1, error checking, we can trace errors, we can also do circular reference. You are seeing there are no anything. You are seeing that we are not seeing anything under circular reference because we can't click on it in this particular file, and that's why that circular reference here we are seeing it has been grayed out, or it is put in a gray color, because we have nothing in this file that is circular referenced. So that's what we can talk about as far as those sections are concerned. The rest of these, if we see we are not talking about them, it means they are not all that important. In other words, we don't commonly use them under financial analysis. So that's what we can pick from the formula section of the ribbon. So let's go ahead and look at the data section of the ribbon. Now, if we move across here to the data section of the ribbon, you are going to find that sorting is quite common along with applying filters. Because now, if you go to data section of the ribbon, you will find that the most common thing that we are going to be using as far as financial analysis is concerned is sort and filter section. In other words, we are going to be filtering and sorting some of the issues or the data that we may have. And also over here we have data tools. And in those data tools, what we are going to be focusing on is what we call the data validation. Because data validation can be quite common to add in for financial analysis as well. But now, there is 2 other features within this data section that are outside the scope of this course. Because we have some of these things that we are not going to look at in the beginner course. Because this course we've organized it for actually giving you something that you need as a beginner or as a fresh person who is new and in the style of financial analysis when using Excel. So some of the 2 things that we may not actually talk about in this course, but they are just good for you to be aware of. The first one is over here under the get external data. We have in that item, we have the ability to launch what we call Power. We have what we call Power Query, and that's the Power Query editor. So we have the ability to actually launch the Power Query editor. which allows you to pull in external data and also transform the data. So there is another thing that you may see. Some of these things you may not see on your screen depending on which kind of software you are using, which kind of version of Excel you are using. But we have another item here which we call the managed data model. Because when you look at that managed data model, you are going to see this one gives you the ability to launch Power Pivot, which allows you to put together and construct a data model. So you really want to think about Power Query and Power Pivot together as being the core features that make up the other software from Microsoft. We have other softwares from Microsoft, and that's what we call the Power BI. Power BI. But also, those ones, they are also available in here in Excel in some versions. And we shall talk about those ones in more advanced Excel courses. We shall look at them. But these Power BI, Power Query, and Power Pivot, they are mostly used by business analysts. They are done more in that business intelligence and valuation analysts. Those are the guys that actually use most of those Excel, those Microsoft softwares. But for now, we are not going to focus on that, since this is just a beginner pace. We want to just open you up that you know these things are actually available in Excel, but we are not going to focus on them. But just know they are there and they can help you construct those data models. So let's move over to the next section, because some of these things we are not going to discuss some of them. We shall see some of these figures, because some of the grouping and grouping, some of the things we are going to use them, but we shall see how to handle some of them. So let's go to the other section of the ribbon, and that's the review section of the ribbon. So moving to the right here to the review section of the ribbon, this is really helpful for running a spell check on the file that we are working on. One of the things that we can do, we can try to check our spellings and we'll correct errors. So if you want to check your spellings and all that, you can actually go ahead and hit the F7 to actually run your spell check. F7 is a keyboard item that takes you to that, because now if you are also seeing it here, F7. When you type F7, when you click on that F7, it will take you to that spell check, or checking the spellings. So we have also more features here around the comments. There are also some features around comments, that comment section, which can be really, really useful. And we have also a section here, the protection section, or the protect section, and that's going to actually give us the ability to apply protection either to a sheet or to a workbook on the file, on the Excel file that we are working on. Here we can actually protect our sheet. We can protect this sheet 1, or we can protect the entire workbook. We explained what worksheets, what workbooks are. So if you want to actually learn some of those things, you want to know what some of those mean, you can actually go to our previous videos and you'll be able to get assistance from there. So you can actually protect from this point, and you can be able to have your document with a limited access, because it will need some passwords to be opened. So now we can take a quick look here at the view menu, because we've finished the review section of the ribbon. So now let's go to the view section of the ribbon. The view section of the ribbon, we are just going to take a quick look. Most common things that we are going to do here is toggle back and forth between the normal view page break preview, just like this. Maybe this, we may be looking at the normal here. This is the normal page view. We can go to the page break, just like the way you have seen. It's page break. We can go to the page layout. So those are some of the things. We can also go to the custom view. You can't go back to the normal. That's how we actually. So those, we are just going to be moving over to either normal page break view or having a page layout. So those are the things that we actually going to look at under the view menu of the ribbon. And then we can see the page breaks. We've seen the page breaks, because now if you put a page break, you'll be moving and seeing those breaks that have been made in those different pages. Because if you go back here, you can actually see these dotted lines that the ones that are creating those page breaks. So we also have another place here where we could toggle the grid lines here, where we can put those grid lines off and on. We can also remove the formula bar from there, so that you can have a higher view. So those are some of the things that we can be able to remove and be able to see some of the information clearly. So those are some of the things that we can toggle on and off, and we discussed the zoom level earlier, and we said we can use the shortcuts, the keyboard shortcuts, to zoom in and zoom out. So finally, one of the things that we are going to be doing in this course is showing you how to freeze pen, how to freeze those pen, and so that you can actually be able to freeze, either you can be able to freeze a top row or the first column, and this will be very helpful, because now if you're freezing these pens, these ones, freezing pen, you can freeze the top row, you can freeze the first column. Let me just show you what it means by freezing the first column. You see, this first column is not going to be moving, it's going to be static. When I just move like this, the other A is not moving anywhere. That's what we are meaning. These are the ones, they are the ones that are moving. So that's the meaning. Even if you come to this point, it means I've frozen that part. The other idea is freezing this. You can also come here and freeze the top row. So if you try to move around, remember this one is not freezed. So if you move down here, you will see that that number one is not moving. The rest are moving. How is that going to help us? Just imagine if at all you have the names here. You say names, and the names here, this is a title. These are titles. So if you freeze this first row, it means even if the whole names they are over 10,000 people, you will be seeing the title here. Because if I move up, I'll be seeing that this first column is showing names. And maybe these are just showing scores. So that's what we are meaning. So those are the things that we are going to be seeing. This one can be results or reward. So those are the things that we are talking about by freezing pen and all that. So those are very helpful because we said they are either going to be helpful when you are doing some analysis. Maybe you are trying to look at something that is far away from the sheet. Because if this is not frozen, it means, let me just come, I say unfreeze, and I start scrolling downwards. You'll find that the other words have disappeared. But I want to be knowing that in this line, I'm looking at names. In this line, I'm looking at scores. So that's what we are meaning. So then maybe the next thing that you may be seeing, these are macros we are not going to look at. Macros, we are not going to look at them, but they are also there. You also see that they are there. We can actually go to the next. As I said, I only have those sections, but you may find that other sections, someone is having a developer section. Someone may be having a Macabacus section. Someone may be having add-in section. So you may find someone's ribbon is very big with so many sections. So if on your screen you have on your ribbon you have the developer section, because right now we are not having it there, but as I said, you actually don't need to worry because we know what to do to include those and remove those. So you may not see some of these on your copy of Excel, but that's okay because we are going to show you in this course how you can put those on and off if at all you want. But this is where you, but for the developer section, that's where you go and write macros. Though you can also see macros are here, but if we had developer section there, it will also show us where we write macros, for example. So the other thing that we may look at is the help section. That is the help section. But you may not actually find this, you may not find that help section more useful because I'm going to, the reason as why we are making this course is to help you get to where we want to be as far as finance and accounting is concerned. So you'll find this course much more helpful than what you are going to find in that section. So let's move over and go to the next video and we talk about the keyboard shortcuts. We are just going to give a little highlight on those keyboard shortcuts. So let's move over to the next video. We'll see you there.